was he and catch him say free HSS no a bar or be a president or be extending a private school na or Ghana ha.
They are talking to me no I be free senior high MPP for Kasa yeah idea free a wa ho chobo enente ho enunti na omo Kasa in free nananom free senior high e be
Yeshawo nyame anu nyam se Awurade ya dom ne yehyiamu ha ayame de bebre se menim panifo adehye yewura president asofo panifo Awurade nhyira mo se yehyiamu ha Awurade nhyira obia na misra busa se Ghana card etimi me yenya ka ebetima me yenya ka free because koso wo manimu a mementi ase be se me ma obia nso nu se Ghana kare betimi de anyaka free a cause bibie no e kire sa se betimi de anyaka free.
In that respect, the party did not draw their attention to it because the commission does not feel that it is in its bosom to allow any political party to correct illegalities with the form. The commission therefore, as at yesterday, wrote to the party and to the candidate disqualifying him from contesting the 2024 presidential election.
I think the court has spoken in very clear and emphatic terms, and of course, it must be the only thing anybody has to do is to respect the constitution. That is the mark of a civilized democratic order. It leaves no room for any argument whatsoever, and the majority decision, very big majority, clear majority, 5-2. It's not as if it was a narrow majority, 3-4 or 4-3, that anyone can say, well, there is some room for kind of review or anything at all. But the point I'm making is that whenever the court speaks, it's such a clear and emphatic order. Even if it's a very narrow majority, that's the decision of the court, and that decision must be respected. And I'm saying that it results in a degeneration of our society and a destruction of our democratic order for anybody at all to refuse to comply with orders of the Supreme Court. And I think that's non-negotiable. It's something that we must all respect. I have heard some statements by certain political actors to the effect that the case ought to be done and that there ought to be negotiation and all that. I'm quite surprised because indeed, firstly, I did not hear such expression of willingness to...
Salary, now I'm saying. Heavy. I said the politics did a walk of who's kunti, a bat and one somewhere owner and number one. Maybe I jam to be from one and I say, and yasam kitwana a parliament seat ya almost say a vacancy. A dear assembly see a cofa by Ankasa.
That I be chow T4 ne Ashe4. I won't get a Conaba TV. CIA. Also, there is what we call rule of law, and I'm paying for counsel. We say, you see, he who alleges must prove it. So the kind of court on only him. And I'm running so yes, say, Krobi so twaso. And to say, I won't be there, and any part in him ra, Timbia, a bit do babino. Any part of the solo, and the befa and Rakwaso.
Alfred, your boy, Dammy, Dictatorial. Appearing with Alfred Kyei-Duah, Deputy Attorney General. Miss Dina Asunabadapa, Deputy Attorney General. Dr. Sylvia Adusu, Chief State Attorney. And Miss Victoria Adoti, State Attorney.
Principal State Attorney.
No,
sorry.
Chief State Attorney.
Chief State Attorney. I'm sorry for.
Yes.
And
Miss Victoria Adoti. Adoti. State Attorney.
Lovelace Johnson JSC and Amadou Tanko JSC dissenting on the issue of jurisdiction. The plaintiff's action succeeds. The full reasons and orders of the court shall be filed with the registrar by close of day tomorrow, 13th November 2024. This is the judgment of the court.
Most grateful.
Yoha and Speaker Bagbin, declare Parliament 4 seat vacant. Say, Sa and Kofono call independent. And Tizan Kofono, you more free, baby, as a mutna our Parliament.
Okay, meba. Okaso speaker na kan so muko independent ya. Ampa so muko independent na sanity.
am possible call independent, yes.
Okay. Enti se emremu no wuni mu se obi ebi ogina ho makwada so for in the name of ebia NPP. Na ade achi na oso onko makwada so for biem na ono abigina makwada so beto ono ade ne ho egina makwada so for a government no enyam free aban mu no na omoda so wo aban mu saa no yato no so aba a wanya ana se tsen de enti na ma na huhu saa.
Say emremono to according to Supreme Court no say emrano your oba say or your MPP ni and a parliament was here no in dissolve with parliament no and it's still not to say back to a buffer na ye new parliament nani panaka say on ye oba when no on say MPP for no onu mu ni hwe ka bi mu no ano na ma sa ni pakro no untimi fa na MPP ni but see no on there Parliament was here the MPP mu and or the buy and now you dissolve Parliament until better still now or MPP.
Get him. Why are you saying that the Speaker of Parliament has acted with dictatorial tendencies?
I mean, the Speaker of Parliament is supposed to be the custodian of the Constitution. Constitution. This man decides that he will not respect the Constitution. Not only that, he would not respect the apex court of the land. It's outlandish. I haven't seen anything like it in my life. And I heard this argument. He respects the supremacy of the Constitution, but he doesn't respect the supremacy of the Supreme Court. What does it mean? So that is what somebody said. What do I have against Bagbin? My very good friend. Everybody accepts. I mean, he's a class prefect. You all know that. But the point is that I do not agree that a person of his caliber would not respect the ruling of the Supreme Court. Now it has been very crystally put by the Supreme Court. The motion, filed by our majority leader of the House has succeeded. The Speaker Bagbin has absolutely no choice now to comply. Tell Atto and his followers to move back to where they originated onto our seat. We expect that to be done without fail. That's how simple this matter has become. Bagbin must learn to respect the authority of the Supreme Court. Full stop.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Oh, okay. That's it. Enkofo no moto abama na ko gina o manemu o parliament ho no o mutuma no se onko in the name of MPP and as I say no wako ura parliament where we no o se onye obey independent but in dissolve parliament in it no still na no da so eba parliament in the name of MPP. Oh, okay. Let's okay so independent no. And yes, sir, we're free parliament while we're in the campaign or that's in the name of
you know, all the duties are they be away biano, I am Magana following ano, or yeah, in the name of that political party now representing our parliament, no, which is MPP.
Oh, that's the way they think and said, and yeah, be a was and yet in tens.
Pepe, also, and now make a share forces to see and maybe I was saying, I was set and maybe a while, yeah, Ghana for no. Yes, who say asumdwe na rechichi of mine. So even though say you are NDC for crowd when election, now on awareness of mine no mono, maintain me so many more. The country won't mean govern country no. And I can't few weeks for election. Into whatever I'll plead to them say, they should understand say Ghana first. Never political party in Tunchen. Now say dissolve parliament in we are. They will be because asumdwe into no. I think say they should understand certain things. Supreme Court and the highest court at Ghana.
Okay,
I'm gonna make it pronouncement.
mete the okay I say and say them painful be say ensu a yenkum ne yanwimu nam no tamana Joe Wise ese opese o stand gina ne ba bi nko ano enye ono
Yeah,
ko a o stand gina ne ba bi nko as independent no onye
yeah.
MPP ni no so wa me wura parliament wa ma me ka ho say wa stand independent to abeka abewura parliament ana me boa
Debbie.
ye to no so aba mani wi ni ansa no oba abeka ho aba bewuram.
Pepe.
It's necessary. O se mu no so de enya de obetime afrim kofim se beto so aba so obewini so obelusu ansa na wabeye ho abeye vacant.
I said me no war contract. Na what's someone against a contract na and there main to bill. And they word a shoot. But so far as the contract near and they and quantity there,
Yeah,
you are
Juma.
still working for me. Yes,
Oh,
I'm still with you.
okay. I see. Because they say no, me who is parliament ho no omo nko na aban Bagbin so say ye mra da ho na nya mra ho parliament say obi cash wo yes a ni kwa so ba ho and I mean any vacant ntisa.
Who's a Ghana no home? Yeah, you're not among for reef and say Parliament, but Parliament interpret law. Obit my embra, a Supreme Court and the interpret law. Supreme Court and the final say. Until all those say, Yebeka says, sir, yeah, LGBTQ. If any example, yeah, home the day of Parliament, you know, yeah, they command the highest person, which is akufo-addo so on side. Yeah, they are called Supreme Court. I'm a Supreme Court for our interpretation. I decoded the whole process. No, I'm a Ghana for what here. And son of a man, the Parliament we law no we are, and yet all law now we and they will govern the whole nation. There's still Supreme Court no often say about the law. And I say, but yatum and I into and as we are, I'm gonna be the original interpreters. I'll be interpreting the law. No, I'm a for Atiase. All those your constitution be article 5, your article 6, your article 8, your clause 1, your clause 2. Bibia should be as the Supreme Court will be interpreting and what you are saying. Parliament and then make it the final ruling.
Okay, na say na Supreme Court wa aka so din kan kane and still Aben Bagbin na ntiase anya adwuma. Wasan awuli biom say still na de tia na tie no obetima san kasa still na wono so yusu ne mra bi anas bibisa.
So and the chaos happening in the country because the country say and paying for new man first. Now by mempene and I'm measurement for Parliament. Mean say it will force the MPP say almost to take a decision, which later patron and bring the chaos to the country. Because we all understand that a Supreme Court and make it the final say. Our money more. And you say, first one, this is what Supreme Court ruled. And then we appeal. Appealing by this would have come again. It means that whatever you are making, you don't have a case. But there's something else, and Penifoni be they have to understand that your legacy, I believe, will be and only do what you and then who said this is what you left behind. Yenfa lawyer Chikata, which on a prominent lawyer, I buy NDC more. I don't know LG or friends say, or more law. Lawyer Chikata, any people be respect when it comes to law. But sometimes, no, or you mistake the at his age, So I'm say, or kind of crack, I'm a Ghana for Tiasia. It be do maybe whatever effort you put across, no. You pay you whatever he did, no. You be watching, in a dirty way. Because, yeah, Tama 2020 NDC the MPP court lawyer Chachikata and lead the friend say NDC for lawyers no Supreme Court. But Tama Johnson Sidin Ketia NDC chairman chairmanship when this ye named him audio about one thing. Or catcher and say or call Chachikata on him say they don't even have figures to represent those things in court. But Chachu Ebedi Nimu can more be later partner. You really against him. The same thing about the Supreme Court thing Asaba. Enra will make a pronouncement. I ne yes they really against him. A man will be a man credibility now and number for Nimno. Now AI atom. It's the many catching and said maybe no when him no crew no say in favor whatever he is fighting for issue. just absent himself from all those things, just to keep his reputation.
Okay. Now, yeah, share ibi wa ha. It says Supreme Court gender or more akanwi. Ana afei so no mahu sɛ NPP foɔ no ba abɔnten so ɔmo so aba abɛdi nkɔmmɔ ɛnso sɛ sisi a Supreme Court gye ɔmo aka no ɛmu gyina so ɛno ano ɔmo nso ɛhwɛ deɛ ɔmo ɛbɛyɛ wɔ ho a na me busa wei bi wokae sɛ Akua-Donkor wuyɛ no me no yɛ interview bi a na yɛ ɔse maame no kɔ saa no sɛ Roman father na ante aseɛ na ɔse agya ɔbɛsan akɔ akɔstande anaasɛ ɔte aseɛ sɛ ɔnstande a ahwɛ a na numbers na timi akɔ soro na de ɔwɔ tere akotu ne saa nomanoma no se sɛ isi aba abɔnten abedi nkɔmmɔ a wɔkyerɛ sɛ numbers ne de gyina na ɔde bɛgyina ana Roman father nso yɛangye de nansa ntum ɔmo se errors bi ne nomanoma bi wɔ mu a anko yinti yɛngye ntum
regarding the 2024 presidential ballot. And I know there have been a lot of discussions about it in the media landscape. But I'd like to assure you that there's no cause for alarm, even before I move forward, because I see Dr. Tanko looking very jittery and taking off his glasses. As you may be aware, the Commission received notice of the home call of Madam Akua-Donkor on the 29th of October 2024. Per Article 54 of the 1992 Constitution and Regulation 13.4 of CI 127, the Commission wrote to the Ghana Freedom Party and provided them a period of 10 days within which to file a new candidate. Article 50 of the 4 of the 1992 Constitution reads, where at the close of nominations, but before the election, one of the candidates dies, a further period of 10 days shall be allowed for nomination. In that respect, the Commission wrote to the Ghana Freedom Party and asked them to present a new candidate within 10 days. In fulfillment of that request, the Ghana Freedom Party presented Mr. Apiakubi, who was before then the vice presidential candidate to Madam Akua-Donkor. The party presented him as the presidential candidate of the Ghana Freedom Party. He and the party went on to submit their nomination forms on the 5th of November, and our technical teams went to work immediately reviewing the nomination forms. At the end of the process, they detected a number of errors and some illegalities with the form. The candidate's attention was drawn to these errors, and the party was provided an opportunity to correct them. They did that. In the view of the Commission, it was not in our bosom to provide the political party the opportunity to correct some of the illegalities that we found on the form. In that respect, the party did not draw their attention to it because the Commission does not feel that it is in its bosom to allow any political party to correct illegalities with the form. The Commission, therefore, as at yesterday, wrote to the party and to the candidate disqualifying him from contesting the 2024 presidential election. This morning, we are here to inform you of the Commission's decision to maintain the presidential ballot as it is. As you may be aware, and I believe all of you have representatives in the printing houses, we are almost 90% complete with the printing of presidential ballots. And you are also aware that following the passing of Madam Akua-Donkor, we requested the printing houses to cease printing until the law had taken its course. Now that the presidential candidate or the nominee has been disqualified, the Commission would like to inform you that the printing would proceed on the current ballot as is, in the interest of time and to save this country millions of cedis. And so our task here this morning is very simple. We are not here to change positions. We are not here to reballot. We are simply here to inform you that the Commission intends to notify our printing houses to proceed with the presidential ballot as is. It will proceed with the ballot that bears the name and the image of the name of the Ghana Freedom Party, their symbol, and the image of Madam Kyei-Duah. And we believe that a lot of discussions and advertisements will go out to prevent the citizenry from voting for her. So this is our mission here this morning. It is a simple one, as I said. We'd like to thank you for your time and your attention.
Na se say no a omanji antum ewuru manfada ne say ne de okan no e de na asibim
and more be bit mercy. Say bit said a friend say speaker and making pronouncement of parliament and later part no MPP for so one chum was here on the court Supreme Court and then a father a friend say judgment about Montino. Say it depends on the both political parties, MPP and this is MPP for per se. Okay, the issue for car, on one side get to no per se a be problem beyond bound anymore. It's fair, it's fun to them. But if they still want to at least proceed, say no. Anybody knew what? What about the CSA? You they can call keep the same picture now already presidency as well. How are you going to make her a president when it's no more? Because it's focus on make Kipuru can call the same picture as well. Let's say okay, fine. People now know Sunday Muhammad to win election because of the sympathy vote of Atabels. Ebia can cause who you now among phobia who say no, but no now you have to say the policy and code bank a board minor. There's any out of sympathy vote you to make can call. I'm on the picture. Now and ne ya trouble ne can call near. Are they going to wake her up from the mortuary to be a president or what? It depends. It's kind of a little bit tricky, and it depends on the both parties. So make sure it. But I know, say, if MPP want to, I think say they will run to Supreme Court for interpretations about that.
I see. Now, and then so I'm saying no, Bisana John Dramani Mahama Kushia or more so may also for a Kumasa. Now, Okushia or mono a Opambo a Buramushu. Obebusa question bi na question obusa ne say Ghana card no yebetimi di ajeka na Ghana card timi di jiwe na ontiase ase we share the way a work na efe wudi hu say Ghana card fa so bia ni so
ye sha wonyame anu manyam se Awurade ya dom ne ye hye mu ha ayame de bebre se menim panifo adehye yewura president asofo panifo Awurade nhira mo se ye hye mu ha Erwari nshira obia na misra busa se Ghana card etimi me yenya ka ebetima me yenya ka free because cost wo manimu a me menti ase be se me ma obia nso nu se Ghana card ebetimi de yenya ka free a cause bibie no e kire sa se ebetimi de yenya ka free Oma BM no why check out free room. And number say me busa sa 7 na ewura president yi ano ma me misre na da Roma. Say ebetimi me anya ka free a na ma yemfa ya ho ntoso because yentimi nya na ye sa. Aha nti sa na da 7 no eno no. Ana BM ana misra ana BM Arwani na miswa shankom last year 30th July 2023 bibi ntimi nsisa onyankopon ti yewura domama esa bakonya no so biem Arwani na ka kira me ana me kan ewiase atumfo biara awonbani atumfo bia ntimi ntwam na bibie no obi yenso a ebetimate sa Awurade adwen ewo ho Awurade sha Ghana manyina na dia me pesa metia ne eye Ghana card na me tese etimi me nya ka free etimi me menya Land Cruiser ye benya shape kratinam ye benya private jet no mesra mo eye no kra na se enya no kra munche me nyina ye hu bi amen
Yamo yensema prophet one
because I'm sorry to say to use different words, but sometimes they deserve those words. Oba Butra, and they ba kwa obia fighting for so benya card, even America so benya green card. Oba Europa, obia benya na advisor, ekutam, I chance of man or trema ye. Sa and crata na de mauno, and then I say okope e be alone. Okope be free, or many ma ye busasa card no and sana the open on saka. Now, when it comes to before I want to Butra, I go on among there to cry out names and him deal no but not social media, it too in foot through a good amount for near. Now it's always like so uncalled for. But I will forgive upon boy because on two kind I've never seen him or so about him. So to call about be the analysis and kata or could you be there? And say be any idea about that. I'll forgive him. But say open say your beauty or my based on policies. Your beauty of mind based on things that are unique. I identify as a Ghanaian, identify as American, identify as a Dutch. Say those things start from somewhere, and I build it. Idea Ghana 4 year about card system, no, and yeah, idea a new thing to anybody. Me call China. I have my Chinese ID card. Chinese ID card, no, and a permit to Soviet as a resident permit. Oba Germany, I have their Germany resident permit card and a permit to my truck more. Into Okase, you debate magic car, you between that J11. Ampa, you between that car because say you walk. Sa card na and a ma sa credit score system na Baumia a can was 7 a year Juma. Because you know, you say a friend say Ukucha MTN SIM card or Ghana card bra. Or the Ghana card no core and Sunny and George Mama sa SIM card. And it's obi could react wo sika anasa na bane frewo na ekofa ade e free sa o mobile money sim card ne so and nam say or then Ghana ID card and register and address was so no our guarantor also no it's easy to track that person into that country no out of even criminality no sa card no to me track in money for more money and now says sa card no so see how copy bank loan now sa card now di loan Jania information na card this week next time ko be akopɛ loan be ma unsan ka be mobi and they say mo car na me the car no ma say okay fine me the car ne oba the car ma amount for say ye the car ne ma loan na Ghana card ne pen the only identity card original the Ghana unya bi ma o original the Ghana next time no pay loan if amount o hospital ye hwe o pay any other things unsan ka into one you be forced to pay that loan back and more money moving on. It's the Obuwa or knew anything about digital systems in the country. Let's look at China. Every country be developing pays about digitalizations. I don't know why people be anymore or more access to those kind of information. They don't want to learn, but they are quick to judge out of ignorance and out of their political colors they are facing now. Opambo, you are a pastor, and now no. Both in your church, you have both MPP and NDC people in your church. And it's all banner be here home in particular. Now you don't know what you are preaching. I don't know what you're talking about because there are people who feel offended in your church. There are people out of whatever you are doing, they don't like it. But out of maybe ignorance and you think you are doing to teach other political parties. At his position, I don't think it was necessary for him to ask those questions.
Okay. Na je gezi su kopie mu ho on the na question anasem omo ye ne interview all can say amamu na ye din to the level say collection kura emma na asem eja all can say collection kura no emma na nsen because amamu no kuyi kura hu ni sen
you could see a software a D4 I mean maybe I'm going back to Accra all because Bibi Ankoso and media will be so for this is offering back. And you mean, sorry, that soft will be a dancer.
Now you get the question of Busa and also say another thing. And yet collection in them Ghana phone money out of free education they buy, Omano access to education now they can go to school, they can read and they can understand. First, no, now obi owa suffer and a yankopon, tiny God, so. What do I say? Sir, suffer now I'm for ignorance because they cannot read and write. And now no more be they think that they almost say almost save Sikano ɛda mo nyankopɔn but now ɔmo ate sɛ nyankopɔn biara ni asase so and that collection ɔmo tua no now ɔmo de investment now for Ghana people are opening businesses people are now there are small people are many jobs they are operating because ɔmo sɛ nyankopɔn biara ni wa ɔwa asase we so ɔde collection ɔde and nye amanfo na ento collect enya ɔmani mu na ayɛ but amanfo na ehu nyansa amanfo na ehu sɛ na asofofo ni ebu mapo the money they were paying no in that churches no na enye necessary into mako akofo mo mamre it is no one people are wise people understand investment people are saving into that money even John Mahama ba and I used to grab back plan he is not going to get that money anymore people are wise now out of free education yes
Okay.
Need the answer
Di na dem ni betwa to ama ye owusu bempa o say free SHS no na na adonye ne botom sika e na ode nti onya se ode ege ne ho me na say ode je campaign bebribe because enye ne botom sika na ode ye ala be
na
kwanzo se free SHS no so man fanka ho ne bon to fa meba
na
o se free SHS no so no na na do boa okwa obetua 5000 utua 5000 akura ansa na wa ye yi tie nye free na ache nso nye ni botom sika na osan de ye
free education no ayo man pani ni bottom ska and what free education anya Ghana yesika aya bosia kra anya Ghana dim no de koboy anya tax aye tuatua enti mpacho yesika awa ban ho no de aye bibia amayen senya free ana meboa me sika na twa ha osofu free education and you know any bottom ska omu country said ya say you mo bottom ska no mu de ye aya Ghana ye sika na mu de aye free education etima ya kra ati said ya misika ho na de aya de ama me onya hwe bonsema Yesu amen
Unim, it can also be impossible, man. Now you're one of the people I do respect a lot when it comes to about Sofugemo Ghana. Then I said, no, I don't want to put my mouth. Let me just make it. Nobody did not to my name yet. But I think that is going too far. And maybe I don't know, say, a friend say, we need people who more advice, and I say, be on to the floor. You can say infrastructure, sir. Mahama, school done with CC one. Among for the Bonabasso say, obesity dances one. Nay, Butumska. Can you tell almost say on the sea, nay, Mahama Butumska. And I say, a friend say, ruled now also building and green book. Name Mahama Butumska. Say Mahama Butumska no more evidence from the Butumska, they are fine. Then we can say, Kufa scan out by free education. We can talk about that. But any part also important now. So on one for the bottom sika and yes, I'm Ghana, they ain't Ghana for taxpayers' money. No, the builder there. National Canada no as I did there. It's a Ghana for bottom trainer because yes, the same being or maybe a baby in your bar or the bottom sika baby do mine. And yet taxpayers' money. That is why I say a banner yard there, ultra criticizing and say a deal a banner year, you know. 1 yard there, and as it go to be Kebino. I find Kebin Kebi. Because can you media, your dear, in the bottom scanning about the building nation. Free education, say, ye day, 1 euro and a building free education. As I want you no care, back should be bottom. But a baby transit dream who says, I want you never question bottom. Meme dear, me de one obia only be. Enya, and the papa, any education. A business said there, Nigel gets a car, I say, and a collection of Emma. Because among for education, I say, among for to me read and write, people understand. And as I go for my mom, on my tongue country or say, or a friend say, or spiritual word, I brought physical word of Ghana. I brought him saying that you did the two banger. Now even cloud savings and now investment at the end of the month, no, will be your interest on her. I brought him say, also when pa, cash. I all the luxurious cars on the man in the bush of phone quality. I on none for people out of some more money social media, you know. Among for I say those things no, they will not invest their money for those people anymore. That is why they are crying, and they will continue crying and they'll cry every day because even if the government change, me I'm I'll never go and pay tax or go and give a common pastor say me money is when me to collection. It will never happen anymore. And
All right.
they can out of their ignorance, they can talk a lot. But to be out to on say whatever they are saying doesn't make sense.
All right. Asɔfoɔ hyɛ nkɔm ɛsɛ agya Mahama aba ebi sɛ nana Baomia na ɛba ebi koraa sɛ mamu ntoma kremoni nso projection as political scientist no wohwɛ mu a hwan na ɛwini yɛnhyɛ de bɛtoɔ na nipa koro wini a yɛabɛka sɛ ɛnea wɔn nso yɛ prophet ɛwɔ sɛ yɛba wɔn nso nkyɛn yɛnhyɛ yɛbɛkipu wei ato hɔ and nso projection wei nyɛ prophet wei yɛ Sir Lewis na ɛbɛka sɛ nso projection no ho ne sɛn.
Echo the obevene our mind moon a Ghana near or one shape papa and Ghana for on the berry.
Okay.
And then out of say Ghana for free education number. Ama amount for tea and no massy on what making kind, on what to make trade, on what to make drink, say on Fasikan to collection manager gaisie. And Manenko to if you can see a name in Trika can see into the collection swatino. I know Sanko for no ignati policies I say. Ain't and Obia ye campaign. At the end of the day, no, then the policies no be carry no on the berry. I will never make a pronouncement say MPP and this berry. Yet, and then the gaisie ya koshem come say American president or Barbarian. We also pass the same thing. We also know the same things. I'm commissioning now. It's a Ghana phone nyansa, and then and all my course even within short time about just a week in 1 week pay crying. It most sako free now. Nyako pon free obia because even nada me bold jaka said otumfo na piao otumfo say ono kwa na oye nipa no was so ono on cancer mon sam fane wanting to so and fane ketman sam fabio. Na Nyankopon na no ye omnipotent God e be catch us say and then say Harris be in election na Nyankopon na sa ba Harris sa lose election na me dim Nyankopon a sa ko no so no. Those people no I don't want to even bring or argue with them because now they who's only ignorance and Ghanaians also know whatever they are doing out of this no people who understand, people who can read, floating voters no most alcohol I don't even listen to them before now me now I want to say my research let me hear about Christianity now I did be a main because you say all the things they are saying doesn't make sense. Yeah, but there were two people at least a majority our country, let's say Muslims and Christianities. Whatever agenda you are saying, say Muslim means me ye president of mind mu dano. Say Muslim need it ho. Na what to say na. It doesn't need me. Say me catch and say then why don't we vote for the Muslim president? No so me rene na nkofo yen some more kano. Ebia and I say I don't me feel inferior and yen vote for yesu nipa. Who say Muslim ni bia on all now no support NDC. I think I will look at him very well because it means that sooner or sooner, only hope for the sooner or sooner. Because if the church is going to make us say there cannot be a Muslim president, now so trouble the same people now who preach for him there. Now it means the ones I don't know how you are thinking. It's a good. Said they are coming up with their own kind of ignorance, and people also listen to them. They Ghana fully be decided on the 7th December who wins. I cannot make a pronouncement and tell them say MPP and NDC. But whatever Ghanaians decide, we all hold it in a good faith.
All right. Unia, that was not one who's in the like a chatto.
They make a cut for the say a friend say Ghana within a few weeks, yeah, Kotuaba. And both parties who say net into question of many man, net the man crashing inside. You cannot rule the nation. And see, whatever they all have to preach is about peace. Na yen trouble in a good way. Na the very so no Ghana for na accepting a good faith. Why would you na why obeti abuche catch was a kotutu kukunwe koyese so dear chi na so man mu say a nipa no o ma merit to women to Ghana. Zia because free Deutschland, Germany. Abano Ghana him Asemsia, every crab me few crabby, and a crown, gun and nina or Ticona, or no pipia or because no need data of a political salon. I will mind not team to see. In Tono, you got punto cock, goes to Kungu for GPPs out of Asala. Almost a lead Liberia for G, Burkina for G. In Tono, Ghana, no coha, young mount, because you see BBNC or Megan and him, and our Bajasalam menu. And on one pipia was a cock, the cock so that to be on a selfish interest, or between that Jim Carter or Mano Timinum. In Zobek Saham Mobidi, who Aje, and Carter or Baby or Tieno, now would ya any Ghana for Nana. They have to decide for themselves. Let's hope for peace. Ghana first. And that never catch the team for you now.
More welfare fund. Yeah, donated 2,000 Ghana cedis as a welfare fund. As the director of welfare, Obetu Yabechi, your donation, no, na what they are shame. Change is in this auditorium. So we've come to take the change and go and give it to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Ima wumupa enti be ma na mo nyina ni be ma mo nyina 24-hour economy apron na mo kitchen na machine fe papa kanu o kan free SHS say etua His Excellency John Dramani Mahama one kasa wudia bema wose yen ka che say free HSS no eba obe president obe extend akọ private school nyina wo Ghana ha wose yen ka che say wo ba 2025 na wo the women's banking eba obe bia we adwuma no you qualify say ye ma loan na interest na was no kitua na otumi atua na otumi ada ye wo adwuma wose next year akwale bia wo ko university o first year no free we dey me the message ma mi aka abo Amazon Kwame Amu say Frochina no Mema John Mama atienu every morning say obechia John Hama na de aka no so no onkopo hunde ro ema yenka ho say Kwame Amu na mema wa yese ejuma no enti patro braha say yeba ha no pan so a ye dey opposition 8 years enti emu ayedin ba say won to me enhwe wiri a men ka say wase enti emu no ayedin kra ma ye no so enim say aba ha na de ye form the next government one sha ye ki ebenya minister wo ha ebenya MC wo ha ebenya directors wo ha etimuma mpaibo no embo tau maye enti ekraye sika enye 1,000 enye 2,000 ba ye kraye sika 10,000 Ghana cedis 100 million to Fiscano, na so seed between NP1, the Nation Prophet 1, and the NDC, and John Dramani Mahama, and Honorable Abu Yedini. John Mama say what the 24-hour economy eba. Say what Magana end that. And 24-hour economy no. Ya bubo nyina se pepe imu ye ja baako 2,000 pieces amamo obi a obe free ha no Niamo Bako, the Fakofi, the cocaine. The crack no, your papa bar, clergy conference no. A child photo for fair. Enti ene ninua ketua Brahma say yen from bra na yen be hano ayoko na yen present mano na obi ehun say ejuma be ma ye no ye manumu papa enti enidie mu with all due respect no ye be ma waba na ya present amao
dia totsu mienu a ye betwam free senior high MPP for Kasa, yeah, adia bia free. Ewa ho chobo enente ho. Enunti na omo Kasa in free. Nananom free senior high.
I think the court has spoken in very clear and emphatic terms, and of course, the only thing anybody has to do is to respect the constitution. That's the mark of a civilized democratic order. It leaves no room for any argument whatsoever, and the majority decision. Very big majority, clear majority, 5-2. It's not as if it was a narrow majority, 3-4 or 4-3, that anyone can say, well, there's some room for kind of review or anything at all. But the point I'm making is that whenever the court speaks, it's such a clear and emphatic order. Even if it's a very narrow majority, that's the decision of the court, and that decision must be respected. And I'm saying that it results in a degeneration of our society and a destruction of our democratic order for anybody at all to refuse to comply with orders of the Supreme Court. And I think that's non-negotiable. It's something that we must all respect. I've heard some statements by certain political actors to the effect that the case ought to be withdrawn and that there ought to be negotiation and all that. I'm quite surprised because indeed, firstly, I did not hear such expression of a willingness to negotiate and all, or maybe such instruction to the speaker or direct suggestion to the speaker for negotiation and all when the speaker started embarking on this act. And I think that for me it's very important that the Supreme Court ruled upon this matter because it is something that had been occurring in this country. A tendency for it to occur really was there. A tendency for it to occur again was there. It's necessary, or it was necessary, that the Supreme Court came to this clear conclusion and determination of the matter. The meaning of Article 97, Clause 1, paragraphs G and H. And I think we must all respect it.
What do you expect to happen in Parliament? Parliament is currently on break. What do you expect to happen with the Speaker of Parliament in particular also?
I think the Speaker of Parliament himself, to start with, indicated in his address to the press last week that the case raised very serious legal issues. Those were serious legal issues and matters bordering on governance in the country. And first, so I must express my shock, utter shock, at this refusal to even file a process. If indeed the Speaker of Parliament himself recognized that the matter raised serious legal issues, as he said to the media last week, where else would you address legal issues but in the court of law? Where else would you have such a definitive pronouncement on the so-called serious legal issue that the Speaker himself recognized in his press statement, done by the Supreme Court of Ghana? So as for the Speaker of Parliament, indeed, is law-abiding. I've known him for a very long time to comply with the decision of the Supreme Court. As I said, it is non-negotiable in every civilized society. When an order of the court is given, no matter how highly placed or lowly placed the court is, even if it's a magistrate's court, you have to obey until it is set aside.
Speaking of knowing him, he.
What does it relate to this? The American Constitution itself, very thin, as you all know. Yet, the Speaker, that Constitution has survived over 200 years. I think that, of course, there are certain provisions in the Constitution that I think that ought to be amended, and I express my views on it to the media. Article 78, Clause 1, which enjoins the President to appoint majority of his ministers from Parliament, ought to be amended. There ought to be that flexibility. I think that certain institutions, for example, the Electoral Commission, NCC, and what have you, the appointment of their heads has to be with the prior approval of Parliament. But I don't think that it calls for a complete overhaul of the Constitution. And indeed, this Constitution is very strong. And it is one Constitution which even goes as far as prescribing consequences of a failure to carry out the Supreme Court order. So the Supreme Court order, the consequences are set out clearly in Article 2, Clauses 3, 4, and 5 of the Constitution. That any person to whom an order of the Supreme Court is directed shall duly carry out same. And the failure to carry out such an order, of course, has the consequences of a criminal punishment. In the case of the president, will even result in the president and vice president will result in removal from office.
And finally, do you expect the Speaker of Parliament to recall Parliament on his own volition after this ruling, given that the court has spoken in such a wide manner?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as I said, it's an emphatic determination by the court on the matter, and the Speaker of Parliament has no option but to comply. I mean, I think that we must stop giving with one hand and taking with the other. As I said, it really amounts to double standards and an exercise in contradiction. For the Speaker of Parliament, in his address to the media, say that the case raises such serious legal issues and matters body on governance and all that, and then refuse to take back. So this country refuse to take part in the proceedings. I think in this country, we must recognize some people for who they are and what they do. This hypocrisy and double standards must cease. The Supreme Court is the final arbiter on all matters in the country, including an interpretation of the Constitution. Indeed, it's the only court solely seeks registration to pronounce on the meaning of relevant provisions of the Constitution. And the Constitution means what the Supreme Court says it means, and nothing more. It is the same in America, and as I said, America, United Kingdom, and all advanced democracies, that is the order that they respect. There's no way a Supreme Court would give a decision in America or United Kingdom, and then the Prime Minister, apart from expressing his disagreement with the decision, or the President of America, of course, he has a freedom of expression to express his disagreement with the decision, but he has no option but to comply, and they usually comply, and that is it.
Thank you very much, Attorney General. We'll get pretty shortly to the leadership of the majority in the House who are here. We'll get to the majority leader shortly. So we'll get to the majority leadership shortly. Take the microphone. So the court has, by a 5-2 majority, affirmed the reliefs that were being sought by the majority leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, in his action before the court. We should remind you that the panel is CJ Tokono, Mariam Owusu, Avril Lovelace Johnson, Kwame Kyei-Duah, Amadou Tanko, Yao Dakwa Asare, and another. And so 2 persons dissenting in the presence of Avril Lovelace Johnson and Justice Amadou Tanko by way of jurisdiction. And then the 5 other judges who have been hearing these interlocutory matters have ruled that the majority leader's action in court must succeed. We will hear from him pretty shortly as the Attorney General himself wraps up his interview with the media, as we get to hear finally from the leadership of the NPP persons who are also in court. Let's get back to listening to the Attorney General.
And I did not raise any issue with that back to appeal. I did not say I'm not going to respect the decision of the court. I respect the decision of the court, and until the decision is set aside by the higher court, which is the Supreme Court, that decision will remain binding on all. So we must stop this hypocrisy and exercises in contradiction. As I said, that when our reaction or attitude to court rulings depends on how palatable we deem it. We cannot react to decisions based on how palatable we deem it, and that's exactly what is happening.
Thank you very much, Attorney General. We'll hear from the majority leader also, who is just descending to finally get to hear from him in terms of how this entire case has traveled so far. The majority leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin, about to give us a word. Majority leader, the court 5-2 affirming all the reliefs that you are seeking. Your initial reaction to this?
So, my friend from Channel, I want to know your position today. No, I'm just asking you. I want to know your position today.
You accept that he's not
No, I just
leader.
want us to have clarity for the purposes
House.
of education. What is your position now? I want to know. What has the court said? That what? No, yes, we are educating ourselves. You know, I want that we are educating ourselves. We are not fighting. We are educating ourselves. So I want to know from you.
He doesn't want to respond.
No. We need to get into the. So what is it? I want to know. That's what. That is so. I mean, I just wanted clarity on this matter. We can only thank God, and also it's a moment for all of us to rally around the choice we made in 1992, democracy. Democracy requires decency, and that is the path the MPP majority caucus took to ensure that we do right to the law. Nothing more except to say that we expect our colleagues on the other side, including Mr. Speaker, to respect the outcome of this case so that we move on as a nation. All we have is the peace of the country. All we have is our democracy. And in West Africa and in Africa as a whole, Ghana shines in the eyes of the people in terms of democracy. So this is another feat we have achieved, and we must celebrate it. It's not a matter of MPP against NDC. It's a matter of constitutional, interpretation, and the court has given its verdict. We should all respect it and move on. Thank you very much. I think on the
do you expect the Speaker to recall Parliament on his own volition, giving this emphatic?
Let the lawyers deal with the issues of law. I think that all we want is peace in the country, and we chose peace. And today we've achieved peace. That is all we say.
The Speaker has no choice. He has to abide by the ruling of the Supreme Court. He has no choice. He has no choice. Absolutely no choice.
What's the way forward?
The way forward is for him.
Please. The
Supreme Court is spoken.
The interesting thing about today's matter is that as far back as 1968, after the first Republican Constitution, we decided as a nation, which can be seen by the proposals of the Constituent Assembly, that two things will happen. The first thing that we decided was that we will have the judiciary interpret the Constitution. In fact, they said two things. They wanted the judiciary to be the ultimate arbiter of what the Constitution says, and they also wanted the judiciary to be able to give advisory opinions. The people of Ghana rejected the second suggestion and said that the judiciary should not give advisory opinions, but the judiciary is the body that should interpret the Constitution. The second thing that is important in that entire the 1968 proposals was that they decided that Parliament would not be supreme. The supremacy of Parliament was not accepted. What they decided was that Parliament will be under the Constitution, and so all our constitutions since then have followed this position. In fact, the 1992 Constitution in Article 1 says that sovereignty lies in the people. That sovereignty was expressed when the people, through a referendum, voted to bring this constitution into force. And the constitution tells us that the supreme law of Ghana is the constitution. Everybody else is under the constitution. Nobody is above anybody. Everybody has his role. And so the fact that the Supreme Court interprets the constitution does not mean that they are above anybody. In fact, there are judges sitting on the bench. One of them is my classmate. My juniors are on the bench. But once they go and sit there, even if it's my own child sitting there, I cannot but bow and give the person respect, not for the person, but for the office and for the law. And we expect every other Ghanaian to also respect the law. We don't all agree on what is said and what is done. There are several times that I've disagreed with what is said and what is done. But because of the respect for the rule of law, because of the respect for the Constitution, we just keep quiet and follow the law, hoping that if we don't agree, another opportunity will come that we'll be able to express ourselves. So what has happened today, we have not seen the reasons. We are happy because we came to court because we believed that the right thing was that the people had not by their action vacated their seats. So what has happened to them, we are happy about it. Tomorrow, the reasons will come out. And when the reasons come out, as lawyers, then we can look at the reasons and what the court has said, and then we can discuss it. In fact, the fact that the court has ruled in your favor does not mean that you agree with the reasons. You might decide that even the reasons some of the judges gave, you do not agree with it. Two of the judges talked about jurisdiction. We don't know what they said, so tomorrow we will know. And when we know, we will be prepared to answer more questions in detail. But as was said by the leader, as far as I'm concerned, today democracy has won, constitutionalism has won.
And Bagbin has lost.
No, nobody has lost. Democracy has won, constitutionalism has won, and nobody has lost. Every one of us is holding every position that we hold in trust for the people of Ghana. We don't hold it in our own capacity. When you are an MP, when you are a minister, when you are a president, when you are a speaker, when you are a chief justice, you hold it in trust for the people of Ghana, and you are under the law. Your time will come and you leave the position, and that is what we must all write. So the 4 MPs have been reinstated. They must come to Parliament, and as far as I'm concerned, if the status quo ante is brought back, then this whole dispute that people call him caucus leader, whatever, it should stop from today. We have a majority, which is MPP, and the majority leader is Honorable Alexander Afeyo-Maki.
Thank you. A lot of reactions that are coming in, and we will try and see if we can talk to a few more MPs who are here as to how this ruling has gone. Farouk Alumama, I mean, this has been a torturous journey. You in the NPP have insisted that the Speaker of Parliament's actions were unlawful. Live on Joy News, what do you make of how the Supreme Court has ruled?
I think today has been a significant day for us, and the judgment speaks for itself. I think 2 judges had issues with the jurisdiction and other people. So today is a day for democracy, and it states that whatever we are doing as Ghanaians, we should respect the law. The Constitution of Ghana, 1992 Constitution, is the biggest, and we must respect it. No winner, no loser, and today democracy has been reinstated, and we expect the Speaker to act as such.
Elefante, that we the same bow, we shall win to save Ghana. We have won to save Ghana. We have won to save Ghana. The Elefantes are winning symbol. We have won to save Ghana.
Democracy is won. Dictatorship is lost.
Why do you say that Bagbin has lost when this was really a constitutional matter? He has come in.
Tendencies he was beginning to exhibit it's been nipped in the bud by this August House, the Supreme Court. My young child will say, I'm sorry. No, my very good friend, my brother.
Okay.
But he was behaving very badly and unconstitutionally.
Right, so some photos will be taken, but the big news coming in from the Supreme Court, the judgment has just been handed down live here. You've watched proceedings. By a 5-2 majority decision, the Supreme Court has decided that the declaration of 4 seats as vacant was unconstitutional. The 7-member panel presided over by Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono, Mariam Owusu, Avril Lovelace Johnson, Kwame Asiedu-Edibu, Amadou Tanko, Avril Lovelace Johnson, and Jao Dakun Asare. They came to the conclusion by majority decision that these persons really ought to return to Parliament, and they do not believe that the Speaker of Parliament acted in a way that affirms the Constitution. And so there are 2 members of the panel who dissented, that is Avril Lovelace Johnson and Justice Amadou Tanko, who ruled that given the way matters went, given how matters went, they disagree with the fundamental conclusions of the court. And so 5-2, they have actually dissented on that, and we'll get more reaction from the Supreme Court. KTM in particular has some strong words about the Speaker of Parliament, who he says has acted in a way that has dictatorial tendency. We'll get to him. Why are you saying that the Speaker of Parliament has acted with dictatorial tendency?
I mean, the Speaker of Parliament is supposed to be the custodian of the Constitution. This man decides that he would not respect the Constitution. Not only that, he would not respect the apex court of the land. It's outlandish. I haven't seen anything like that in my life. And I heard this argument. He respects the supremacy of the Constitution, but he doesn't respect the supremacy of the Supreme Court. What does it mean?
So what do you expect should happen now?
So that is what somebody saying. What do I have against Bagbin? My very good friend. Everybody accepts. I mean, he's a class prefect. You all know that. But the point is that I do not agree that a person of his caliber would not respect the ruling of the Supreme Court. Now it has been very crystally put by the Supreme Court. The motion, filed by our majority leader of the House, has succeeded. The Speaker Bagbin has absolutely no choice now to comply. Tell Atto and his followers to move back to where they originated onto our seat. We expect that to be done without fail. That's how simple this matter has become. Bagbin must learn to respect the authority of the Supreme Court. Who's up?
Thank you very much.
Yes.
One question for you.
Which one?
Why did you aid Professor Michael Kyei to flout the...
I've said this. This matter has come out and we talked about it so much. We say, how did I aid? Are you now making a personal attack? How did I aid? I do not even remember that particular ruling. I've made the point many times. At that time, we had about 169 or so members on our side. Nobody recalls that. Not question of not carried. I don't even remember. It is until this matter came up that the issue came up. And consistently, I've said that, well, fine. He may have so he was wrong. He was wrong. But the matter didn't get the opportunity of surfacing in the Supreme Court. Now it has. There was this matter in one of these judgments, and I think Mr. Justice, I think Francois, in one of the famous cases, he said that, well, look, everybody is saying that this was wrong, it has been perpetuated, and nobody said anything, and so that remains the law. It is not. All right, there was there's an error, there was an illegality, it has been perpetuated. Now somebody's raised their hand. The hand is up now.